present for you this afternoon. I'm going to kick things off just to get things rolling. I have my book here, which actually came out during the pandemic. So my book Worlds here for sale. So I'm going to read a short piece from that. So if you'd like to buy a copy, I'll be happy to sign it for you. This is an excerpt from the first part of the book, in which a character named Seamus Logan has run away from home. The woman he loved has agreed to an arranged marriage, and so he was so upset that he's decided to leave his home in County Mayo and traveled all the way to Connemara in County Galway. But he's leaving. This is the first time he's left home, and he's crossing the harbor from Galway to Mayo, leaving his old life behind. I'm sorry, from Mayo to Galway, leaving his old life behind and starting a new life, which will eventually take him to the new world, where he'll start a construction company. And the town he's from is called Bunown in County Mayo. It was midnight, dividing my last day of Bunown on my first day of exile, when a shrill cry echoed from the ravines below, and all around the ominous mountains around me, the mountains over which I had trudged, and was determined to traverse still, though it might mean my life. Not a moment's thought did I give for what to do. Up I sprang with a cold chill running down my spine, and I raced, stumbling a little bit along the rocky goat track. Nor did I look behind me. I ran down the twisting paths with neither my fear nor my downhill course allowing me to slow my pace. I don't know how much time passed. It seemed like hours, but it might have been minutes. At last I reached Bonduraga, a well-sheltered village, which to all appearances was fast asleep. I slowed to a walk and caught my breath. The calmness and courage came back to me then, and when it did, Mavukul, how I laughed. Sure, I might walk abroad day and night, risking my life and limb in a strange countryside, without a potato or a crust of bread on me, and think nothing of it. But let a woman shriek in the night, and I go running like a spring lamb, racing across the fields. I hushed myself and wandered down by the quay, for there was a harbor there and a great body of water. 'Twas Killary Bay. The moonlight shone on the bay, but did not reveal to me the other side. I found a rowboat moored and unwatched by the quay. After all the twists and turns, the misgivings and indecision, the bumps and scratches and bruises, it seemed the Lord had reserved the boat especially for me. It had been waiting there for me the whole time, a bit of kindness from heaven to soothe my pain-maddened heart. I blessed myself and asked the Lord's forgiveness for my borrowing the boat. I promised not to harm it nor to take anything not belonging to me. I just needed to get it to the other side. Placing the gun and powder quietly down near the bow, I unmoored the boat and rowed with great strength and steadiness across the dark bay, the dividing line between my old world and my new, flooding and ebbing between Mayo, my native home, and Connemara, my first place of exile. As I rowed, the past flowed away in my wake, just as it does now, lad, just as it does now. The flapping of bird wings came to me loudly over the water, and I thought it was a fury of home coming to fetch me back. There wasn't a human soul to be seen nor heard, and yet I felt I was being followed. Except where the clouds drifted away from the stars above, the darkness was nearly perfect. I could see an odd candle in the windows of the town that faded steadily from my sight, but sure they seemed farther away than the stars. Darkness was taking over the town. It seemed thicker than the water I was rowing, and every sound was magnified. Every creak of the oars and the oarlocks was the she mocking my folly. Every bump of a wave against the boat was a ghost. A queer, empty feeling was in my belly. I was sad to leave it all behind me, but it was a relief to me as well, to see the past wash away with the ripples and the bubbles, and they trailing away and vanishing in the moonlight. The taste of saltwater spray on my lips blessed me with forgetting, and I felt lighter and lighter with each stroke I made. Saoirse. I was alone and tired and downhearted. I didn't know where I would lay my head, nor how I would keep my body and soul together, but I was free. I was free of people's notions about me and their expectations, free from worries about Mary, from the boreens on which I walked to meet her, the old cemetery where we embraced, the field from which I had picked wildflowers for her, the glen in which I had practiced a song to sing for her. Free from the mocking or pitying eyes of Bunown, and free of the weight of their cruelty. Having nothing but future, uncertain as it may be, I was free of the past. So when I reached the other shore, I got out of the boat with a great sigh and took a brief rest. I had come to the land I had heard so much about. I moored the boat fore and aft, took my things, and walked toward the hill of Durry na Clough. It seemed the best to get out of sight quickly, for dawn was arriving. I climbed the hill, and at the summit I turned toward the south and knelt down on the earth. I took some stones and laid them out in the shape of a cross and said a prayer of thanksgiving to the Lord. As surely we will kneel and pray on the day when we reach the other side of this. Though we don't know what lies ahead of us, lad, we have seen the spires of St. Coleman's sink into the sea behind us, and we left there for a reason. For tomorrow is another day, and tomorrow we'll tell tales of these troubles, just as I'm telling you the saga of my sad youth, and we just pilgrims passing the time of the storm. Thank you. Okay, we have a little slight change in the order of things because we have a reader who has to leave to go to work. So we have a first-time reader to join us, a friend of the festival. So please give a warm welcome to Mark Lenehan.
Thank you. I expected that I'd be a lot further away from the audience, so I may have to change some of my material so you can't reach me and pull me off the stage bodily. The first two pieces I'll do, and I'm going to try and get through a few. The first couple pieces I'll do have something to do with a surprise that I got a few years back. And well, I'll let you discover the surprise. This was July 13th, 2019, several weeks after my 63rd birthday. It's called Event Horizon. Philosophy is immutable as secrets inscrutable reveal. Will this make me a better man or reveal the cur within? For 2 weeks now, I've on the equivalent of a week mescaline trip. First for several days, post-operation, the narcotics they had pumped me full of left me with a thin uncertainty, slight equilibrium concerns, as well as mind-to-muscle lag time. It was Friday following Tuesday surgery I got the news, or maybe it was Saturday. In one sentence, I became a father and a grandfather of 2 young teenage girls. Not 1, 2 teenage girls. It can be credibly argued that I was never a guy with both feet planted firmly on the face of the planet, but one addressed to chronic conditions. Coping mechanisms, I think is the term. Some healthy and effective, some less so on both counts. Nevertheless, I've been on another planet for about 2 weeks now. The atmosphere is foreign and thin. The people dress the same. My language skills inadequate, I plod, 1 foot heavy, 1 foot light. Standing still not an option for fear of falling. The gravity is also somewhat different here. Feet never really gaining purchase on the firmament of this planet that I landed on. The landscape shrouded in light, but impenetrable mist. Pockmarks, divots, gopher holes, toe catches, pitfalls ahead, certain. Bruises, bumps, pain, joy, heartache, elation, pride, disillusionment, possibilities unimagined. I creep slowly forward, serpentine under the baking midsummer sun, exposed, naked, vulnerable, aware. The hard skin layer half molted, my new skin unweathered. Redemption? What if the girls don't like me? The task being undefinable, mutable, target unseeable, multiple human factors also mutable, the nagging question is, do I have what it takes to rise to the occasion? No choice to try, but as my man well said, there's no playbook for this sort of thing. Coming late and last to the situation makes me the biggest variable today. And that's the story of how I found out that in a 7-word sentence that I was a father and a grandfather. My son was 42 years old back then, and the girls were 13 and 14, and now they're a few years older. But it was it was an acid trip of 3 months, in which I woke up every day. So the first thing I said to myself was, "Holy shit!" I'm going to skip over to something a little bit different. I was going to give you another one of that. I want to try and stay within my time here. This is about more just randomness. It's called Kaleidoscope. Random mosaic, fractured slivers, circle, tumble, fall, reintegrate, disassimilate, circle around again in optical space. Random emerging reclusiveness. Fingernails dig for purchase, I rub my beard. What's my next move, best friend Morpheus? Awakening crazy people outside my window glass, screaming whistles, pissing me off. 10 minutes. If you can do 10 minutes. Okay, 5. Just do 5. Meditate. Silence. Seclusion. Quiet eludes me. Physical, social, spiritual, cosmic, human, the cacophony grows sharper, painful to my ears. 5 more minutes, just 5. A quick break. I shrink, I flinch, I retreat, I stand down. My fists still clench even as they hang by my belt. Count down. Count up to 10. Take a breath, take it in. Gnawed fingernails scratch my bald scalp. My beard grows longer. View narrower. Time escaping. My sector of the universe about to be set into the quicksand of revisionist stories. False and flattering. True and damning. All sure to paint the teller in their chosen light, even if known to be myth. That's like Kaleidoscope Part 1. As long as you don't need to applaud, just as long as you're not throwing tomatoes, I'm good with that.
It's still early.
And people are still hungry. They're not getting the tomatoes yet. This one I wrote actually just the other day. It was sort of the follow-up to Event Horizon. I had come upon an email communication with my son's mother, adopted, and it just sort of, it sparked a bit of nostalgia back to the acid trip. Like I said, it was the first 3 months of, this is called Somewhere. Somewhere between the plans that man makes and the things that the gods laugh at are shreds and shards and tidbits of our essence. The threads that sew the tattered human quilt into magnificent tapestry and give us pause from our perverted view of Maelstrom and bring us wonder and slay our hubris and bring us to ponder the seed that feeds the bird, the bee waltzing from hive to stamen and back again. Instincts ordained in some order, stone stairways through clouds of chaos. If they linger at the mythical pond of Walden, it's not to dither nor ponder. It is to find the seed, rub pollen on their legs, move on, sharing a life without question or purpose nor grand philosophies. Elements of logic, syllogisms, theorems, contradictions, what-ifs, milestones perhaps saved for slow nights at the hive or nest. Did we pause too soon for nostalgia? You'll tell me if I start. I'll go on for weeks if you don't backstage.
Maybe one more shot.
Okay, good. In that case, I'm going to a little follow-up to the Kaleidoscope thing, and this was written many years after the first one. This is called For Jenny, Her Sister, and Me. And the kaleidoscope of broken shards, hints, fragments, goddams, motherfuckers circle around one-eyed looking glass of our perceptions. After a while, perhaps not viewed daily or even regularly, but always in our breast pocket held close. We wipe the salt trail falling down our cheek, take a deep breath, put on our good shoes, our best shave, clear our throats, throw our shoulders back, bite our lower lip, as we represent the wisdom we had hoped to gain much later. In our breast pocket, the kaleidoscope, merry, round, colored spheres, dance and circle alongside the edgy, angular, serrated, blood-toothed points. And we smile, and we kiss, and we hope, and we reach, and we dance with partners, light and dark, and we see blindly, and we see clearly through the kaleidoscope. Thank you all very much for being here. I might have warned you ahead of time to keep sharp objects and poisonous liquids away from yourself, but thank you so much. John, thanks for having me, and everybody enjoy the rest of your day.
Mark Lenehan, ladies and gentlemen, please give him a round of applause. Thank you, Mark. All right, our first reading started with a bit from County Mayo. We're going to continue with the Mayo theme. Maura Mulligan has written a memoir called Call the Lark, which is available I'm sure she will autograph a copy for you if you'd like to buy one. She's going to read an excerpt from her memoir called The Last Night. So please give a warm welcome to Maura Mulligan.
Thank you, John. Hello, everyone. The island that I grew up in was very different from the island of today. This was the 1940s and 50s, when there was no such thing as electricity or running water. We brought water from the well, which was in the well field. And the mode of transport at that time was the horse and cart, or the horse and donkey, the donkey and cart, and or the bicycle. So that was the island that I grew up in. And I'm going to tell you, not read from my book, Call of the Lark, about the last night, the night before I left home. I remember that I was sitting by the fire, looking at the coals burning, and I thought about what would it be like in this new place that I was going to. My mother was making baksti by the fire to give to the neighbors and friends when they came to say goodbye. And the light from the fire cast a glow on her face, and I wondered what it would be like to see this new person that I was going to live with, my cousin, and her father, my uncle, whom I never met. My father was sitting on the opposite side of the fire, reading the Western People, the local paper. There was a picture of me on the page 2, and it said, "Popular Ahamor girl sails for New York." I was being presented with a pair of dancing shoes by my dancing teacher, Seamus Ford. And Dad kept looking at the picture, putting the paper down on the table and picking it up and putting it down again. He was wearing his best Sunday suit and his tweed cap, and like always, his pipe was sticking out of one side of his mouth. It was warm in the kitchen, but his shoulders were hunched together as if he were cold. In days gone by, Ma'am said, they called this night the American Wake, because the one that was leaving never came back. And in her case, in her generation, that was really the truth. She never saw her siblings again once they left. She tore a piece of newspaper and folded it into a taper to get a light for the lamp on the kitchen table. in the middle of the floor stood the churn full of cream. It was waiting for the visitors to come to help with the churning. It was customary for women and girls